One of the things that I think a lot of photographers wish they had was someone or a group of someone's who would take the time to look at their photographs and help them to decide what needs to be done to improve. A couple of days ago, I watched a video by Sean Tucker. If you're not familiar with Sean Tucker, he is a British photographer. Well, he's actually from South Africa, but he lives in the UK. And he did a video on using AI to critique your photography. And so I thought I would give that a shot today. Now, I'm going to put a link to Sean's video down below, and I would recommend that if you don't want to watch the whole thing, it's about 25 minutes long, go to the 16-minute, 22-second mark and watch his warnings about using AI, because some of the things that he talks about at the end of his video are very, very pertinent, and I'm not going to repeat them here, but if it shows up in my work, I will point out the fact that Sean Tucker said it would be like this. So I have ChatGPT open here, and I'm using the paid version of ChatGPT. Sean Tucker used the free version of ChatGPT. He got excellent results. So I'm just going to click here to add a file, and I'm going to add photos. And I've got a couple of photos here, but for the sake of time on this video, I'm just going to use this one. Now, this photo was what I considered to be my favorite photo from Scotland. And it's the photo from inside St. Mary's. And I was really, really captivated by the light coming through, the darkness of the shadows, and all of that. But I know it's not a great image, okay? So I'm just going to write a very simple prompt that says, I am an amateur photographer learning, let's go back, if I can type, learning to shoot black and white photos with the Leica Q2 monochrome. What I've found in using another picture for this earlier is that if you include your camera, it will give you feedback specific to the camera. And if you include the lens specific to the camera and the lens, the Leica Q2 is a fixed 28 millimeter. It seems to know that. Okay. Analyze this image. Give me brutal feedback. I don't want it to be kind, okay? Brutal feedback on how to improve my photography with this image. Now, that's a very simple prompt, and I just thought that up off the top of my head. You can write this any way you want. There are better ways probably to write prompts. Sometimes you can tell ChatGPT, you are a professional black and white photographer. And that helps it to sort of understand what its role in the conversation is. I'm not going to all that effort today. Now, the results from ChatGPT are almost always instantaneous. And so here we are. So one of the things that it will say, overall impression. This is a strong architectural interior with excellent symmetry and evocative sense of atmosphere. The subject, an ornate cathedral-like sanctuary, offers depth, geometry, and contrast-rich surfaces. And then the next step is refining how you interpret it with tone, composition, and intention. One of the things that Sean Tucker pointed out is that AI, no matter which AI you use, will almost always start off complimenting you on what it's found. Almost always starting off telling you, this is really good. You did a good job. But you wanted to know how to improve, so let's show you that. Okay? So The composition is strong, but not quite ruthless enough. So what works? The central alignment pulls the viewer straight toward the altar, and that's a great choice. Now, you can tell by the feedback I'm getting that ChatGPT has actually analyzed this photo. It's not a generic feedback on photography. It has given me specific information about a specific photo. The aisle functioned as a leading line, exactly what I was hoping for. Large shapes are framed beautifully. Why, thank you very much. I was very pleased with them myself. Where it slips, you're almost perfectly centered, but not quite. And I did crop this image because I was not centered. And I tried to get as close to centered as possible. So after I saw this, while I'm making this video, in this video, I'm going to go back and show you that image where the center line actually falls. So let's go there now. And I think you'll see by looking at this image here that ChatGPT has a better eye than I do, because I thought I'd gotten it centered. I did. But one of the things that I struggle with, and I know I struggle with, is knowing exactly where to stand or where to put my tripod to get directly in the middle of an architectural photo. I'm almost always off to one side or the other. I don't know what it is about my sense of perception, but I think I'm centered and I'm not. So I know it is something I need to work on. It says the left-right balance is slightly off, and that is true. Notice the arch bases and the pew alignment. And architectural photography, almost symmetric, reads as mistake. Okay, I'll own that. So it tells me to slow down, ruthlessly align your verticals and horizontals, use grid lines. This was handheld. Maybe I could have gotten it better if I had done it on a tripod, but this was not a church that lent itself to a tripod, and I didn't have a tripod. Number 2, exposure and tonal balance needs more intention. Strengths: you have kept highlight detail in the murals and altar. The shadows are deep without losing all the texture. Okay, I was going for that. But the midtones feel muddy and congested. Now, I'm going to be honest here and tell you that one of the things that I struggle with in editing black and white photography are the midtones. I get the highlights and the shadows, but that area in between, I have yet to crack the code on getting the edit where I want it. Okay. So midtones feel muddy and congested. In black and white, midtones can shape the subject. The shadows in the upper left and right corners are collapsing into pure black. That can work for mood, but here it feels unbalanced because the altar area is so open and light. Now, that could be because there's a vignette on those shadows, maybe. But it's something I will look at. So, to fix it, lift the midtones slightly to reveal more texture in the pews and the ceiling, and control the deep shadows with selective dodging. Open them up just enough to hint at structure. In other words, not quite as dark as I had originally had them. And add micro contrast, which is the clarity, to the archways to separate the layers. And because it tells me that the image wants depth, not just contrast. And I'll be honest, I was going for contrast, not thinking about depth. So I think this is a valid critique of my image. Light direction and emphasis, the eye wanders. Okay. Your brightest zone is the mural and the altar, which makes sense, but the side aisles have pockets of light that unintentionally distract. So let me just go back up here to this image. So it's talking about these areas here and here. I've probably left too bright in the image. Okay, I think that's fair. It says, look at the right edge. Those bright windows pull the eye out of the frame. So it tells me to burn down the side aisles and window areas just enough so the viewer remains anchored in the central axis. You might even burn the floor slightly to push the eye upward toward the altar. I think these are good ideas. And when I'm done with this video, I will go back in and re-edit this image based on what ChatGPT has told me, and I'll throw it up at the end so you can see which do you like better. So it tells me here to think like a painter. You decide where the viewer looks. That's very true in photography. We dodge and burn for that very effect. And maybe I've left too much too open so that the eye is not drawn directly where I want it to go. Detail and texture is an underused potential. A Leica monochrome, notice I told it I was using Leica. A Leica monochrome loves texture, stone, wood grain, plaster. But here those surfaces are too soft. They're not out of focus, according to ChatGPT, just lacking intentional micro detail. There's that word again, micro detail, just small adjustments, okay? Add subtle local contrast, not global contrast, to the stone arches. So I need to do some masking and bringing those things in. Sharpen selectively. Don't just apply a blanket sharpening pass. Now, again, on this image, one of the things that I did was originally pass it through on one for sharpening, and I sharpened the entire image. It might have been better to have passed it through there to get sharpening and then layered the two images, the unsharpened and the sharpened, in Photoshop and sort of masked out the areas I didn't need sharpened so much. That's an idea to use in the future. Not to every photo I take, but to the ones like this that I think have some capability of being good. Really good. They're just not there yet. All right, with dynamic range, you played it safe. This file could handle more punch, not HDR, not crunch, just more tonal separation. So right now it tells me, again, the highlights are safe, the shadows are safe, but the midtones are flat. We're back to the midtones again, and I know that's the case. A monochrome camera begs for bold tonal decisions. You can push contrast further without clipping. So I'm going to go back when I edit this. I'm going to look at the histogram to see just how close I am to clipping. Maybe I can push it just a little further. So it tells me to increase global contrast a little bit, recover some highlights if needed, and use selective dodging to bring out the mural's dimensions. 6, there's a lot of feedback here, isn't there? So it is technically good, but artistically neutral. And I would agree with that. I would. It's a well-controlled interior shot, but it doesn't yet say anything. And I want it to say something. So, what emotions should this space evoke? What do I want the viewer to feel? Silence, awe, reverence, scale? I think that's a good question, and I think silence and awe may be in that range somewhere. Right now, it's more of a documentary-style image. I don't know if I should feel offended by that. So it tells me to try 2 edits: a dramatic, high-contrast interpretation with deeper shadows and glowing highlights, or a soft contemplation interpretation with gentle tones and lifted shadows. Okay, I think I want to go with the dramatic, high-contrast interpretation, but now I may need to edit it twice. Practical shooting improvements. Use a tripod. Of course, use a tripod. Stop down more. It should have been shot. Even I know this. It should have been shot between f5.6 and f8. I think it was shot at f2.8, but the Leica goes to 1.7. It may have been shot there. I'll have to go back into Lightroom and see. And of course, a timer if I'm on a tripod. And then it tells me that I should revisit the location because the light changes and I should see it in different lighting effects. Well, that would be great if it wasn't, a 12-hour flight to Edinburgh. So here's the final verdict. You're on the right path. It's a strong beginner, intermediate level, black and white architectural shot. It's thoughtful, clean, and technically competent. But it needs ruthless symmetry. I'll do that. It needs deeper control of the midtones. I'm going to look at that. Intentional use of shadow. Okay, and again, I think we're talking about those upper right and left-hand corners. Selective contrast shaping, and artistic decision-making, not just documentation. The Q2 monochrome is a beast of a camera. Your eye is developing. With more precision and bolder tonal choices, your images will start to feel purposeful and emotionally resonant. And then this is one of the things that I like about ChatGPT that I don't get with other AI programs. It offers me next steps in what I want it to do. So it tells me, if you want, I can walk you through a step-by-step editing process for this image. Now, that's really interesting. Or I can review more of your black and white shots to help build consistency in your style. And so, I might, and moving forward, not on this video because it's already too long, but I might upload some other images from my Scotland trip and ask it to think about them as a body of work. I have a couple of other images that I really like from this trip as well. But I think outside of this, just outside of this video, well, let's just do this. Okay. I may not use it, but let's just see what it tells me. Walk me through a step-by-step editing process in Lightroom Classic. Now, just as a caveat here, one of the reasons that I use On1 to do global sharpening on my images is because the AI sharpening in Lightroom Classic will not work on Leica DNG files, at least not on the Q2. And so I just run it through there because Lightroom is not yet adapting to those file types. So let's just see what it says. I may or may not use these when I re-edit the image. And again, you can see it's thinking. It doesn't take long, but it is thinking. You can kind of see here in the text what ChatGPT is telling itself. So here we go. Now, notice that didn't take long. All right, so we're going to do lens corrections and profiles. I do that with, that's an automatic on my Lightroom import, so that's done. Fix the symmetry and perspective. So it's going to tell me how to go through that. And then it's going to take me through the global tone, and it gives me areas that I can adjust, like exposure, likely around 0.2 to 0.5, contrast, plus 15 to plus 25. It's giving me ranges to work with. I find this fascinating, but to be honest with you. And then it also even gives me what to do with texture and clarity and dehaze. And then using the tone curve, which honestly I don't use a lot, and I know in black and white photography, that's how I'm probably going to fix my midtone. So it's something I need to learn to to do, okay? And then it's going to tell me to dodge and burn like a printer. And so it's going to tell me exactly what filters to use, what masks to use, where to put them. So here's telling me to use a linear gradient, a radial gradient, and then to tell me to sharpen intentionally. And then let's see, a controlled vignette. It tells me to go with -5 to -15. Most of my vignettes are -11. But I don't adjust the roundness and the feather and all that. I just go to -11 and forget it. So I might look at those things. And then a final crop, and then to create virtual copies and to edit them differently. I don't do that, and I wouldn't do that on the 117 images that I exported from Scotland, but the 9 or 10 that I feel really strongly about, that might be a good way to go. And then I could look at them in the compare view, or I could upload them to ChatGPT again and ask ChatGPT to compare them and tell me where the pluses and minuses are. So then it tells me again at the bottom, if you'd like, you can describe what your current edit looks like or share specific slider values you've tried, and I'll help you fine-tune it from there. Now, you tell me where you're going to find a live person to do this for you at 11 o'clock at night when you can't sleep and you're editing photography. You're not going to find it, not on a consistent basis. They might do it once and they're not going to take your calls anymore. So ChatGPT, now I did, because I used a different image earlier to kind of see what this looked like for me. I also used a different image and uploaded it to Perplexity AI, and I uploaded one to Grok. Perplexity AI was useless in this endeavor. It's one of my favorite AI tools for research, but it was useless for this. Grok came a little closer, but nothing like what ChatGPT is doing. So I would be interested to know if, after watching this video or going back and watching Sean Tucker's video, again, I'll link it below, if you are interested in using AI to critique your photos. And number two, if you are, have you, and what did you think? Now, notice I told it up front to give me a brutal feedback. And I did that on purpose because when Sean Tucker did his first critique, it was kind of, it's kind of stuff anybody would tell you, okay? And so he changed on his second picture and put that word brutal in there, and he got much more comprehensive ideas on the particular photo that he uploaded. Now, the one caveat that I will throw in here that Sean Tucker also talked about is that ChatGPT and other AI programs, they don't really understand negative space. So if I had put an image of a person with this large shadow and this beam of light coming down, it probably would have told me to crop in closer to the person and get rid of all that shadow. It doesn't understand that yet. So there are limitations here. But I think in this particular image, it's given me some really good ideas that I'm going to try. And so at the end of this video, which is coming right up, I'm going to put the original image. I'll label them. The original image as it came straight out of camera. This particular edit that I asked ChatGPT to look at. And then the edit that ChatGPT has recommended, some of the changes that I've added. And you can tell me in the comments below if you thought ChatGPT helped me improve the image, or was it just a bunch of junk? I'm interested to know. All right. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Here are the images.